fly, everybody? Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, January 26, 2016. This is the Village of Westchester. We have a board meeting followed by a committee of whole meeting as well this evening. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone would please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Ms. Sherby. Would you please call the roll for us?
Trustee Calcagno.
Present.
Trustee Celestino.
Present.
Trustee Rita.
Present.
Trustee Scary.
Present.
Trustee Stecker.
Present.
Trustee York.
Present.
President Blue.
Present. We do have a quorum this evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Our first item is some presentations, and actually have some promotions to do, as I understand it. Okay. These need to be given to them?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, without further ado, okay, here's how it goes. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. We've already done this once before, but you do it once again. I, and then you can state your name. I, Scott Bowman. Solemnly swear. Solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. I will support the Constitution of the United States. Constitution of the State of Illinois. Constitution of the State of Illinois. And faithfully discharge the duties. And faithfully discharge the duties. As a lieutenant of the Westchester Fire Department. As a lieutenant of the Westchester Fire Department. To the best of your ability. To the best of my ability. Help you God. Congratulations, sir. I'll get the bio first, and then if you have a significant other.
Little bio about Scott. He had the fire service as a paid-on call with the Grange Fire Department in 1996. He actually first worked with the Westchester Fire Department as a contract medic with First Ambulance in 1998. He earned his associate's degree in 1999. And after working a short time in Brookfield as a full-timer, he was hired by the Westchester Fire Department in December of 2000. He also previously worked as a paid-on call in the Grange Park for 10 years. He has been the assistant EMS coordinator since 2008, and he's served for about the past 7 years, running our CPR program. Now he can move up into that coordinator spot, which he's been doing so well, just with the supervision of officers. So in 2010, he was certified as a hazardous material incident commander. He's been an active member of the Division 20 Technical Rescue Team since 2011. He's also been the president of our pension board for the past 13 years, and done a really good job with the board. And in 2014, he earned his bachelor's degree in fire science. Scott's responsibilities will be coming, like I mentioned, the EMS coordinator, which is really in charge of the vehicle and personnel licensing, continuing education, electronic patient peer reporting, and ambulance billing. All the tasks he has been doing since the coordinator, and he'll also be filling in a shift commander when the captain's off. Otherwise, he's a company officer running Model Station 2. So, really excited to have Scott with us, and moving up the ranks here. He's been an asset, and he's going to continue to be a really good asset to the department and the village as a whole. So, really excited about it.
Scott, if you wouldn't mind introducing your family.
My wife here.
Come on, guys. Tom, you are a commissioner of the Board of Police and Fire Commissions. Have you present this to Scott?
Scott, congratulations.
Once again, thank you for all your service up to now, and we're expecting good things in the future as well. Great, thank you, sir. Next, we have George here. Okay, George, we've done this twice already, so third time's the charm. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and faithfully discharge the duties as a captain of the Westchester Fire Department to the best of your ability. So you got it. Congratulations.
Okay, a little bio about George. Actually, believe it or not, he's been with the village for 25 years. A lot of it as a contract medic. He started as a contract medic with Tech Ambulance Company in 1991, which is a year after I started. He was hired by the fire department in 1998. He's been a member of the Division 20 Technical Rescue Team since 1998 as well. He's earned his associate's degree in EMT paramedicine in 2006. 2008, he became a member and is still an active member of our Illinois USAR task force team, based out of Wheeling. He's earned his Fire Officer 1 and 2 in 2009 and 2010. He has been an instructor at NIPSA in Glenview as an adjunct. He's been with NIPSA out of Glenview as an adjunct instructor since 2012, teaching various technical rescue disciplines, including high angle, trench, and confined space. 2012, George left the Richmond Fire Protection District as deputy chief of the department, or of the district. George's responsibilities are that he is now the new head of our Fire Prevention Bureau. He took over after Captain Levita left. Small tools and equipment, and due to his ties with NIPSA, scheduling of training opportunities, along with his day-to-day responsibilities as shift commander of the department. So, again, he's given a lot, and he's going to continue to give a lot more, and expecting big things out of him, as well as Scott and all the new officers with the big turnover. So, Lieutenant Ducey stepped up really well, and Pat Sherlock has stepped up really well at this point, and everything's running good. Everything's running good. So, thank you.
George.
My wife Gina, daughter Sheila, son Jake, and his girlfriend Holly, and my sister-in-law Patricia.
Welcome, everybody.
So we're the best. You get the pen?
Yeah.
Okay, now it's your turn. Congratulations once again.
This time I'm gonna bring my eyes so I really know what it is and I do it again. This is from the Westchester Fire and Police Commissioner, certificate of appointment to the rank of captain pursuant to applicable state laws, which your name is spelled correctly. And witness up and chairperson and secretary have executed this document effective the 26th of January 2016. We congratulate you on your success and wish you all the best. All right, take care of your guys and bring them home safe.
Congratulations. We have any other presentations other than those two for this evening?
No, we do now.
Okay, would like to, I know Mike was presented with this the other day, but a graduation certificate from the Northwestern School of Staff and Command, a 10-week class, began back in September, 2 weeks out of the month from now through, from then till January 15th, I believe, was the graduation day, and that Mike successfully completed the prestigious Staff and Command class for Northwestern. So, congratulations as well. And I see we have a potential distinguished visitor in our gallery, Steve Stelter. That's you. As you well know, the village manager selected Steve as the replacement chief for Chief John Carpino in the police department. And I understand that you and Mike went out to lunch yesterday and had some conversations about the department, I'm guessing, and that you will be ready to go on February the 8th. So great. Welcome here this evening as well. And our two esteemed colleagues from the fire department, everybody left you? Sean and Jim. Jim, you enjoying that retirement? There you go. All right. Okay, our next item is public comments and questions. To give as many visitors as possible an opportunity to speak, and in the interest of adjourning by 9, please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length unless further time is granted by the board. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board on active or general matters? Please do so now. Need an introduction of your name so we can get that for our clerk. And we can move on. Oh, okay. Anyone? Once? Twice? 3 times. I don't believe we have a public hearing this evening.
No, we do now.
Okay, our next item is our consent agenda, approval of the record of bills ending 1/21/16 in the amount not to exceed $1,279,726.03. Approval of minutes. I think we have the December 15th minutes. And did we get the January 5th one? Looks like that was supposed to be of an exec of the 5th. I'm not sure I saw that. That would be pulled. Okay, that one we don't have. Okay. So item 4 in the minutes, we'll pull that. And I believe we do have the January 12th board committee of the whole and exec, correct? Okay. An ordinance amending the Westchester Municipal Code establishing the amounts of compensation for the village president, clerk, and village trustees for terms commencing May 2017 and thereafter. Item D, a resolution approving and authorizing change order number 4 to a contract between the Village of Westchester and Berger Excavating Contractors Incorporated for services related to the Mayfair Reservoir Expansion Phase 2 project. Item E, a resolution of the governing body of the Village of Westchester authorizing the execution and delivery of a master lease agreement, purchase agreement with PNC Equipment Finance, LLC, as lesser and separate lease schedules thereto for the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment within the terms herein provided, authorizing the execution and delivery of other documents required in connection therewith, and authorizing all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by this resolution. Item F, a resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the County of Cook and the Village of Westchester regarding the Sheriff's Work Alternate Swap Program, and we should add $1,000 cost to that.
Sounds that loud.
Resolution regarding the Illinois Department of Transport right-of-way permit. Mike, did I miss any numbers on any of them? I think probably the Berger.
Burger is $143,670.59. That would be item D.
D.
And the PNC lease would be in the amount of $140,415.
415. Okay, we got all the numbers in there? Okay, items A through G, does anybody want anything pulled?
Carl.
Please pull item C, please.
Okay, and I will be pulling item number D, David.
And Sam, can I pull the record bills?
Item A. Okay, we have item B up in the game except for number 4. And then item E. I would imagine, if I'm not mistaken,
Swap?
no, I'm just saying item E has nothing to do with B. Okay. And that would be it. Item E, F, and G are all pretty good, correct? All right. So a motion and a second to approve all the ones that I didn't say.
Motion.
Second.
Celeste. Nikki, were you second?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or I'll take that back. Roll call, sorry, sure.
Trustee Celestino.
Aye.
Trustee Rita. Aye. Trustee Carey.
Aye.
Trustee Stecker.
Aye.
Trustee York.
Aye.
Trustee Calhoun.
Aye.
President Booth.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, in the discussion, motion and approval of item number A, approval of bills. Motion by
So moved.
Tommy, second
Second.
by Frank. Discussion, Nick,
yeah,
which
you
one
know
did you want pulled?
Actually, one of the things in speaking with Chief Stelter previously, he had mentioned Lexipol is not necessarily something that he would recommend moving forward, where we could possibly save some money. And I see it up for, the contract being up for $2,850. Is that still, I mean, rather than us jump back on there for a year, is that something that we should hold off on then? I don't know what, I just saw it. I know you'd mentioned it, and I saw it on the record of bills, and it's gonna start again for a year, and it's almost $3,000. Is that something that you would recommend us holding off on?
I'll call the bank right now, I wanted to speak with Deputy Chief. I mean, the way I look at it is, I would say yes, I mean, I really don't see a reason for it myself, but I want to double check with Deputy Chief.
Is it something that we can, is it only on like a January to, I mean, can we jump on at any time?
I think it's an annual, you know,
Do they kind of break it off then if you start in February or something, is it prorated or?
don't believe so.
Okay.
What if you,
And originally signed up with that through Irma, there is a discount that Irma picks up part of.
Oh, okay.
We get a discount because we're members of Irma, and their big push is for us to be in this Lexipol, is for the,
Liability.
the policy
Policy.
manual, but it's constantly evolving and changing.
Okay.
Yeah, based on current laws, because
Every time a new law changes or if
They
best
update.
practice changes, they update and make a suggestion to say that your municipality should change and now reflect this language. So
Okay.
something the chief and I could work out and decide if he wants to pull, I don't know if they would give you back the unused portion.
Okay.
Or if you just didn't pay it. I'm not sure.
I was just gonna say, if we approve it tonight and you don't want it, you have the discussion this week and you just don't pay it.
What happens
Yeah.
if it expires, Mike? If it expires?
You no longer have access.
Okay, and what if we let it expire in February, but you know what, it's April, we screwed up, we want to join it again?
Yeah, I would imagine they would give you for the whole year, beginning.
Being in April, so there, that sounds like there's no penalty, really.
If there's a late fee or not, obviously that, you know, when the chief starts, we have to go in and update the manual, you know, to reflect his information.
You want to repeat your suggestion, Angela?
Yeah, I mean, if we approve it tonight, that's all, and you decide you don't wanna go forward, you just don't renew
We
it,
just, yeah.
that's all, but at least you have the option, you know.
To renew, I
renew
understand
it or
what you're
not
saying,
renew it,
sure.
so.
That was my only question, only because I saw it and I remembered in discussion and everything. So, but that's fine. I have no problem then with it.
Steve, maybe you can answer this. Was Brookfield in Irma, or did they have somebody else?
no, they were Irma agents.
They were Irma as well? Was, to your knowledge, was there a reason they didn't jump into Lexipol, or was there another, I guess, commodity or another company that you had better familiarity with?
No, that would have fallen under model policies everywhere. The International Chiefs Association has model policies. Illinois Chiefs Association has model policies. Other departments will have model policies. If we want to move to something, we need a policy. We pull other accredited departments and see, hey, what is your policy? You get to go
Like we do.
to advise. So to me, it's just a savings of money. Lexco is very nice because you don't have to do that. They just kind of come to your doorstep. But, I mean, the difference between two policies really is none. If you got somebody that's active and stays on top of it, then it's very easy to stay on top of it because we get all the email blasts from everywhere as far as the laws, changes in the laws, and updated policies and things like that.
I think the money's better spent
Based on the
elsewhere.
conversation, I think Angelo hit it on the head. I think we
Yeah.
should go ahead and approve it.
And
And
then just
discussions will take place, and
maybe not cut the
we'll
check
kind of
yet.
go from there. If we
Mhm.
don't have to write it, or you think that there's a better venue, as long as we're getting that, and Irma's not going to ding us X amount of dollars, I would imagine when they come for the review, I mean, from the reviews that I've sat in, they've gone through every policy, and if they can figure out a way that you don't have one, they're going to ding your point value. But if we're up on that, then we should be fine with that. I'm sure that's what happened in Brookfield as well.
Yeah, and never, on all the inspections they had by us, they never brought it up.
Okay.
So it's going to be up to the chief and the deputy chief to decide if they're going to keep it, but you're going to approve payment in the event that they choose to keep it.
Right. There may be some time sensitivity, which I don't know if we know for a fact. When the renewal, is it yearly, is it, can you jump in and jump off? I mean, I'm not sure about that, so. Satisfied, sir?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. And then the other question is Jane, I had asked for that information on B and F, and I was just wondering, I never received it.
Melissa had sent a response that I had forwarded to you.
Oh, I never got it.
Melissa, can you give an explanation on that bill? Let's see.
Hello? Okay. The reason the fire code was listed on that bill is because BNF does the 2012 International Fire Code Plan Review.
Okay.
So usually when we get plans for interior remodel, I'll send them over to the fire department just for information, but they don't typically do a review for fire code.
Okay.
So BNF does that part of the review, and that's what was reflected in that invoice. And then you had asked
I was mostly concerned about just where we're at financially with them,
just a
our commitment.
breakout. So the total that we've paid out to them has been $135,777. 16,607 of that is plan reviews that were sent to BNF. And then 94,816 of it is for when we have an inspector here in our office doing plan reviews, and also for their time on the street doing inspections. And then we've paid out $24,353 for property maintenance.
And Melissa, what are, do you have the dates from when we started paying them? Is that through now, current?
This was just for this fiscal year.
Yeah, but when did it start? It didn't start
You
like
get a-
May 1st
Right.
or anything,
You get a
right?
full fiscal year in on that total?
This was starting
Cumulative.
with May 1.
Since May.
So
Am I
all
not
of
answering
those,
the question?
So it's not.
all
a
of
year.
those duties began May 1st, or
Right,
did
and
they start?
it was just things that were billable as of May 1st? So they could have been inspections that were done prior to May 1st?
No, these are inspections from the month of
May
May
1st,
on, and then plan reviews that they did from May on.
So May to January.
But I guess I'm concerned is that, like, maybe, I don't remember when they took over doing all these things.
For
Did-
code enforcement?
Yeah.
For code enforcement, we had someone here on sort of a part-time basis while our code enforcement person was still on staff. So they started with us right after the fiscal year started, and then after that other person was separated, they were separated in July.
Okay.
So then they've been our primary person to do code enforcement. And Tony left at, I can't remember if it was April or May.
I think it was April. It was before the fiscal year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
So I think the question's out there, the monies that we have paid are only for this fiscal year currently.
Yes.
Right.
The numbers that I told you are what we've paid to them this fiscal year.
Roughly 9 months.
Right.
Correct.
To the tune of about 135.
130,000.
Correct.
135, what?
135,777.
And given the situation at the time, did we budget, what did we exactly budget for?
You know, I don't have my budget in front of me, so I don't know the number that we had
Actually,
put in there,
Maureen
but I
probably has
didn't.
it.
We got it.
Melissa, do you know the approximate that is recouped then from the
Yeah, 'cause that-
applicant?
That's the thing I'd be
sorry,
interested
what
to
was
see,
the
is like, I know some of it we do recoup, but
The
I
monies
just wanna
that-
see how much is out the door and not coming back.
The fees that are charged through, they're passed through.
Well, the 16,607 is charged back to applicants with a 10% administrative fee on top. Plan reviews, anytime we're doing a plan review, I include that in the fees, and I make sure to charge for inspection. So all those fees are coming back, they just don't come back to, I mean, I don't know how, they don't come back to that same line
Line
item
item.
back in
No,
my
I get
budget.
it, in revenue, but.
Question regarding the, in the past, pre-BNF, is it true, Jimmy, that the fire department did those plan reviews as it related to fire?
The only plan reviews we really don't do are the bigger ones, which I just had looked up from the record bill of that is actually for the towers. That's a bigger project, a little bit more beyond our scope, but for, I'm not sure kind of where the cutoff is, depending on the work that's being done.
I guess my question would be, who decides that? If there's a plan review involving fire
Yeah,
that you guys have been doing historically, it seems to me that you should be continuing to do that.
right.
So, I mean, you should get the first bite of that apple, and then when you feel, whether it's time or urgency or job, you know, that it's too big, that piece would then be farmed to BNF, I think. Is that your question?
That's why I didn't know if, when I saw fire code in the bill, I didn't know if that was something that like maybe was unique to Jeff's role, and that now we were gonna have to be farming out that maybe
No,
we
we're
did
still
in-house.
We're still doing the code reviews, just historically with the Westbrook Corporate Center, unless it's like a small office space that they're doing, you know, when they're talking floors, that's typically farmed out.
Okay, because I'd never seen that on the bill, and then I just with the timing of Jeff's departure or retirement, I thought that, I didn't know if maybe there was things that we were gonna have to start farming out, because I'm just worried, you know, some of these bills are, they're really racking up over here, and I do understand that some of these monies are coming back, but also, we did go about a month when their person quit, right? Where we kinda didn't have
Again,
anybody in the game. So I really want us to kind of watch, I mean, believe me, people need to be out there, we need to be doing code enforcement. I come home from the firehouse sometimes and I got a sticker slapped on my garbage can, and that's fine, I get it, you know what I mean? Like, that's good that they're out there doing that stuff. But at the same time, I just get a little concerned that that we just keep shelling out a lot. I mean, it's getting up there. So I just want us to keep an eye on
Do we know how
on these
much of this
bills.
was billable, how much of this billable time had revenue behind it, or, you know, coming back in?
I don't know the exact amount. You're talking about in terms of fines that we've assessed?
No,
How much was
pass-
billable
pass
time for
through
code
fees.
enforcement, right?
Yeah.
So BNF is billing us for 135,000. How much of that was recuperated, you know?
Probably around 110,000 of it.
It's all but the 24,000 code enforcement, is that correct, Melissa?
Yeah, that would be the only part that wasn't
Okay.
somehow
All right.
built
so-
back to some
And
extent
then
back
I
to
think
the
this board,
applicant.
you know, the board indicated that our code enforcement left a lot to be desired.
Oh,
in the
absolutely,
past.
100%.
And
I
I
just
think
see
it's,
$17,000 bills, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
holy shit, how?
well, you know
much
what,
are we
you don't
coming
see
back?
the offset.
You know,
I think if we
Yeah,
saw an
that's what I was
offset,
wondering.
and,
Yeah.
and maybe in the future, if, you know, if we're gonna put that number down, especially since obviously we're monitoring that in the margin, you can indicate the offset. This way,
And even with, I mean, and even if, you know, if we see that, hey, they're out there actively doing this type of stuff, fines are coming in, it's a wash, hey, I'm good. I just get nervous when I start seeing He's
Well, you don't see the
gigantic.
other half of the coin.
Exactly, and that's why I raised the question, so that's
So-
all.
So do you want that on the bill? Like when I approve the bill, do you want me to put a note on there that tells you how much is coming back?
You know
Do
what?
want a monthly report from me?
Or even like if it came with like the quarterly report, like our, like with the quarterly financial report or something, if there was something in like the notes that just kind of, on things that we're outsourcing, if we could just kind of get an explanation as to how it's coming, is it,
Because
so
the
I'm not
revenues
going to
aren't-
6 different
We
pages
don't
to
know
try to do
what
the
part of that
math.
revenue was, received to offset those when we look in the quarterly reports,
Mhm.
correct?
Could make a suggestion that,
Just so we see it,
I mean, every month, Melissa gives us a report of how many permits and things of that nature, maybe a little
Okay.
asterisk
Yeah,
on that document that
That'd be helpful.
says X amount of dollars in offset.
that'd be helpful.
And then you don't have to mess with it in the quarterly.
Mhm.
It'll come in a monthly thing, and then the board will certainly get that document and read it and kind of go from
Yeah.
there.
No, that would be helpful. Thank you. That's all I got. I'll be quiet now.
I'm sure that's
for
not it. All right, item C, ordinance amending the code for the compensation. Motion and a sec,
I don't know that we voted on.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we
We
didn't.
just got the
Oh, I'm sorry.
questions answered.
Yeah.
so we
I'm
gotta vote
sorry.
on that.
All right, Tom and Frank had the motion on the floor. Thanks.
I was looking ahead.
I'm
too,
rushing
so-
here. Sherby, please call the roll on the bills.
Let's wait for the roll
Aye.
call.
Trustee Perry?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich?
Aye.
Trustee Calcagney?
Aye.
Trustee Celestino?
Aye.
President Louie?
Aye, motion carries.
Good. Now we can.
Thank you. Now, item C, an ordinance amending the code for compensation. Motion
So
to
moved.
discuss. Tom,
Second.
Celestine, we'll give it to you.
Janet, I got it now. Thanks. I didn't have the
Okay, Carl, you're up. Swing the bat.
Thank you. With regards to the increase in compensation to the village president, clerk, and village trustees, I must respectfully disagree. I truly believe that our service to this municipality is by choice, and we do so at the pleasure of the residents, and that our current compensation is appropriate. I believe that the funds that will be used for this increased compensation can be better served in other items or activities. A couple examples are more material for roadway maintenance projects, dedicating the funds to bring about the second ambulance into service, new technology or safety equipment for the police department, replacement equipment for village-owned facilities. These are just but a few. With the uncertainty of legislative action in Springfield, this should give this board pause. Our village has already had awarded grant funds taken back, which would have improved our alleys. Our village's MFT funds were delayed, and that potentially could have been a public safety issue. And most importantly, our municipality still lives under the threat that a significantly reduced LGDF could be greatly affected to the goods and services to the safety of our residents. I believe that the responsible action of this board should be that we keep the current compensation at its current level. And that's all I have to say.
Anyone else, comments? Anyone else? I agree with Carl. We have a couple of items that are on the board agenda today that are $140,000 plus. Again, this is a volunteer position. No one twists our arm to sign up for it. As I was doing some research regarding compensation and what may be appropriate, and I'm not sure, Mike, if this follows legal muster, that if there was cost of living considerations and whether or not the board would entertain that, but as it stands, you're looking at 208% raise for the trustees and a 625% raise for who's ever
They were higher, but though in the past, correct? And they were
sitting.
decreased.
Let me finish. Sitting in the.
I mean, we had the discussion last meeting, Sam. We went
Yeah,
through
I
this
know.
all at the last
Well,
meeting.
You want to say what you want to say? It's
I
my
am.
turn right now. Let me finish. 625% raise for the office of the president, which I think both of those are obscene. I think that all the tax bills were received today, showing what debt we have, not only the village of Westchester, but all of the governing bodies out there. And I just feel that I agree with Carl. It's a vote of the board of what we want to do. I understand that, but I am not in favor of this situation. So, and yes, we did have that
Right.
conversation last time as well.
That was my church,
I-
right.
I-
And we did get a decrease way back in the day.
It went from,
Was
it
that
went from
decrease
400.
included in your percentage
I'm
rates?
saying, it went, no, I didn't.
Okay, so, well,
I
I mean,
just
they
did it from
should. They
today.
should be included in all that, Sam.
Well, I disagree.
Along with, well, I
Since-
disagreed
Since
also.
2009,
Yeah,
it was
decreased.
$200.
Right, from what?
And it was 400 before.
So-
In
but it
a
got
not- in-
decreased.
But again, it was $400.
And never increased by any kind
No.
of percentage whatsoever.
No, not at all.
And our burden continues to come. And this is not a volunteer position. We get compensated for what we get. So
but
that
it's
negates the fact
basically a
that-
volunteer
But no,
position.
it either is a volunteer position or you get compensated.
It is a volunteer position.
May I?
We're volunteer.
Yeah, for the amount
But
we're
no,
taking
let
for
me
it.
finish what I was saying. They did get $400 back in the day. It was non-reporting.
I know,
You
right.
didn't have to keep receipts, and you didn't have to do anything. It was strictly a stipend of $400, which was turned back to $200 back in the day. So it's been that way since 2009, since I've been here, and I don't know exactly when it changed. But again, I mean, if you look at, and that was my other commentary, if you look at the cost of living or the 2% or whatever has gone on since 2013, when everybody has pretty much been here, you wouldn't get up to the numbers that you are suggesting.
Yeah, but you correct to make it right.
Well,
That's it. And
again,
we're not
costs-
even
I
correcting
mean,
where it should be.
we-
We're just correcting a little bit.
you missed my point.
No, I get your point.
If you had your 200 and you took 2% every year from that till now, you wouldn't get up to the numbers that we're
When I
looking
came on the board, you were looking to get rid of all of our compensation. And I have to say that everybody's time is worth something,
at. Okay, well,
especially when you own multiple businesses or you work more than full-time or put in 48-hour shifts and have to get somebody to cover your shift. And as you get promotions, there's less and less of those people to cover your shifts.
I get it.
There's
but
a
if
lot of
you saw
sacrifices that
some
are
of-
being made,
I
a lot
get
of
it.
sacrifices. And this
If
minute
there's anybody
increase.
knows the sacrifice, it's me.
Right, and you should want to be compensated
Me.
a little bit for what you do.
Well, that's not why I took it. Anyway,
That's not why any of us took it.
that's,
Can't make a living out what we do,
Yeah.
but we should be compensated.
well, I mean, if we have expenses, we get them paid. And again, I would think that the discussion.
No, that's not true. Not all my expenses get paid for.
Well,
My
expen-
phone does not get paid for.
I'm sorry?
My time that I take out of my businesses do not
Well,
get
but
paid for.
that's, I don't think that's compensatable. I think Mike
Well,
discussed that already in a
Right,
prior meeting.
according to the
I
law,
think
it's not
we may
compensatable.
have more people interested in the positions
Right.
and getting involved because they wouldn't, it could maybe take up, instead of a part-time job, we might have more people involved.
Right.
And each one of us would have the option not to take the salary.
Well,
You could opt out, just like the governor
That's true.
has.
yeah.
Pass it, and if you don't want to do
Other
it, just like we're
political
doing for,
officials have opted out, so
It's a good
you
point,
have
Celeste.
that individual right.
Again, that's my 2 cents. Everybody has their 2 cents. So, is what it is. So, there's a motion, and a second on the floor. Any commentary extra regarding it? Shirley, please call the roll.
Trustee Perry,
aye.
trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yorkovich,
Aye.
trustee Calcagno,
Aye.
trustee Celestino,
No.
trustee Guido,
Aye.
and President Bowie.
No. Motion carries. Item number D, resolution approving and authorizing change order number 4, contract between the village and Berger in the amount of $143,670.59. Motion?
Motion.
Celeste, second? Your second?
Second, right here.
Angela did.
Oh, Angela, I'm sorry. Okay, reason I pulled this once again. This was a topic that we discussed at our last meeting, and I had it pulled at that time for additional information. Back on September 30th, and in our October board packet, there was a document submitted by Mr. Walter Stort, the engineer, and I won't read all of it, but it talks about the Kensington and Downing storm sewer infrastructure. There was under the contract 2015 ST1, there was a contract change order request number 2. It said, install Kensington alternate improvements, total $140,187.60. This change order is required to construct the storm sewer infrastructure improvements shown on the original bid documents and labeled in the bid documents as Kensington alternative bid. And there also was something similar for a change order of $167,349.30 for Downing, making the total change order of $307,536.90, which we approved, which increased our original contract price of $1 million. It was changed once before in change order 1, $1,098,898.50. And with the 307, it was $1,406,395.40. Before us today is another change order for Kensington Street in $143,670.50.59. So I would submit that we have already paid for that change order back in October. We pay engineers to engineer the project, and if you look at those alternate streets, when they bid on them or did whatever they did, they should have had some due diligence to see what was there. There are probably, and I may have it wrong, 6 houses on either side of the street, so a total of 12, maybe 14 to the middle of the block that may have double storm sewer connections, albeit there's been a representation by me and Public Works Department staff on the ground that they've never seen a double connection in any of the houses in Westchester. And even to the fact that when it was planned out, they were 37-foot lots and which expanded. So I submit that the engineer and or the construction company should have looked before they bidded. You can't, we added these other streets as part of an add-on project, which we all said we were going to pay. An additional $307,000 that is not being compensated or part of the allowance from the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District that built the reservoir and the extra line down Carlisle. So I submit that somebody dropped the ball. And for us to keep paying people that dropped the ball to the tune of $140,000 is obscene. The question I have is, apparently there were other double connections that were done on Buckingham and on Downing, and I don't know if there was anything done on Mayfair as well. Why weren't these things caught when they pulled the pipe up on any of those streets? When they pulled the pipe up on Downing and they saw that there was double connections there, A, were we notified? Did we check to see if any of those connections were live or if other ones were dead? Were staff even included in the look-see to stick a rod or a camera or a rotting tool of some sort up the lateral to see if it was ever connected? Could we not have put some dye in somebody's house in the storm sewer connection to see what pipe it actually came out of? Fluorescent thing, or did a smoke test? That certainly would have been less costly than making all these additional connections and actually damaging the pipe by putting an extra connection when an extra connection didn't need to be put in there. So, I will vote no on this again, and I will hold their feet to the fire as far as completing the job and what they did. If you look at last month's, where we approved $27,000 in costs, that we were happy to approve in number 3, there were a couple of those things that I would question as well about payout that somebody should have found out. You know, the only ones that if you look at it is, hey, when we're digging and we saw that there was a conflict with an existing pipe there, or something that Julie missed, or Julie didn't identify, or we couldn't identify, which was an unknown. But these engineers and construction guys knew when they were working that there was an additional hookup. And really, all they had to do was take a look-see and see what was there. If they would have ran a camera down each of those streets, the length of what? 200 feet? What's 6 houses times 50 feet a house? They could have determined at any time that there was a double connection and could have raised a red flag. So, again, I'm not a fan of the extra $140,000. I hate change orders, which you all know. And again, they have no problem spending our money. And what's their deal?
As it stands, we're currently contracting them to do those
I
two
think,
streets
no, I totally agree.
with just a single connection. That's already been.
No. Right now, we are unknown on Kensington. The other ones are done.
But we have already approved the change orders to do the pipe in one connection on each house.
That is
The original
correct.
change order on those two
That
streets.
is correct.
This change order is strictly for a second connection
And whatever else.
and whatever.
And I guess the question is, Robert, maybe you guys would know, when they did Buckingham and they had to put double connections in, or when they did Downing and put double connections in, is that a charge that's being reflected in this current 140? Or do we pay for that already? And if we didn't pay for it, extra, why all of a sudden now on Kensington?
I'll have to look into that and get back to you. I don't have the detail in front of me. We did separate out, we had originally wrote a change order 3 and 4 as a combined, so we split them out so that change order 3 covered most of the items that were already done. It is my belief, without looking at the detail, to give you 100% assurance, the change order 4 is for items yet to be done.
Right. I have change order 3, was the $27,000 one here.
Change order 4 is for items anticipated that may need to be done.
Wait,
So as it stands, they can start the project, and we can be side by side with them, and when if those second connections are observed, we can verify either they're, they need to be replaced or they don't, or.
Yes, the intent was for us to be more proactive, to put our own staff out there, to rent some equipment which would allow us to have a better opportunity to find these connections. They're $1,400 a piece, so if we have 6 on each side, 12 times 14, I mean, we're talking a significant amount of money, and the idea is to try to catch those now that we have some hindsight on what the issue might be and a better idea how to verify whether they should be connected or not, that we would work it like that. And the idea, the way the change order mechanism works, is that you approve the financial amount, but there's always a final balancing change order at the end to balance out the quantities. So if we are able to deduct 12 or 14 of these because they weren't done, then we'd have to bring that change order amount 140 down.
Are they anticipating every home on these two streets having a double connection? And that $1,400 per connection would come into the amount of $140,000?
It doesn't. That's my point. If there is 24 houses that have a double connection, times $1,400, you're looking at $33,600. So you want to cut that in half, which is 16,300, if there's only 12 houses. So where the hell are they coming up with $140,000?
Well, there are several items. I have just the change order form. I don't have the detail page in front of me. I'll have to go through and do a line item split, because what we got from V3 was a combination of 3 and 4, and their detail, 56 items. I will have to go through and do an extended review.
Yeah, I'm holding change order 3 that had 11 things on there.
Right, I mean, the
So-
change order for the thing wasn't even in our packet, so we couldn't really go through it either.
Well, I think the number was.
The number, yeah, the
Yeah.
140.
But the
but
justification
The
was-
detail was not there.
Well-
Prior meeting, yeah.
But there's my rub. We talked about this at the last committee of the whole meeting, and
Right.
I was thinking that we would have had full documentation of what the hell we're talking about before we put it on an active agenda in a consent to vote for it, without the same questions that I asked 2 weeks ago not being answered fully. And we're just gonna throw out $140,000 because this engineering firm wants their money. Somebody has to justify to me where the extra $140,000 or $143,000 is coming from. It certainly can't be, and the only commentary I've heard was adding an additional line to the pipe. We already paid for this. So I would tell them to hook it up and be done with it. It's as simple as that. So, anyway, that's the pleasure of the board, but I'm definitely a NO on this. Sick of change orders and sick of being duped. And it seems like it's each and every project we have, there's a multiple $100,000 hiccup that we have to figure out where we're gonna go. I mean, make no mistake, folks, we still have a sanitary line relocation on Sunnyside that we've been screwing around with from 2012 that is gonna take some money to relocate that line. All the way to Jackson and Brainerd in LaGrange Park. That hopefully we won't lose our funding because we're dragging our feet with it. So, again, I think this needs to be pulled. You've heard me say it, I wouldn't pay him a dime more unless there's some awesome justification, but we already paid, folks, I just read it to you, $140,000 for them to do Kensington. 140, 187, 60, period. And if they're trying to ding us with work they did on Buckingham and work they did on Downing that was in excess of the numbers that they asked for, I guess they gotta eat that. Too bad. So,
Well, if you want more information that's not available tonight, my suggestion is table this. So you need to have a motion to table this to allow that additional information to be furnished to you.
well, I think
I think
we
we-
have Celeste and Angela, do they need to revise it to
Anyone
table?
can make a motion to table.
Yeah,
Motion
I
table.
motion we table it.
Well, we might as well keep it the same people. This way here, it keeps it simple.
Motion.
I would vote no.
Anybody think I'm wrong?
No.
I was gonna vote no.
Just
I would vote no.
What I'm thinking is, we'll get more detail and possibly pay pieces of
I want to see a schematic of how
I
that
would make them run with the
$140,000 breaks out
I agree with you, Sam.
to the penny.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hold them accountable for it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're probably right, though.
All right.
Vote no, we'll
just
get-
need a
I mean,
roll
is there,
call.
is there a
Wait,
motion
So
to
where are
table?
we?
Yeah,
Where are
they-
we?
Yes.
The same people that motioned and
Okay, a
seconded.
motion to
They
table does
wanna
not
table,
need
they
a,
wanna vote.
pardon me?
Are we voting or tabling?
No, let's table it for the information.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say vote no, and I'm pretty sure we'll get the information.
Well, Robert's going to come from Robert. He maybe has it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This is not here today.
But
We have a motion to table.
He's got
You can
it.
vote yes or no on the motion to table, and depending on what that happens, you may have to vote on the main motion, but there's a
Well, I
motion
mean,
to
I-
table on. You can do that by acclamation. If you feel like it's a close vote, then you can ask for a roll call.
You know, I think this is, table at this point in time until all the justification is in. But again, they need to know my angst here, that we already paid $1.40 for that to be done. And if they screwed up or didn't look at it, you know, it's not like, you know, they were digging in the ground and found asbestos or something and it was a unforeseen act. This could have been determined, in my opinion. So, there's a motion and a second on the floor to table this for right now. All those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Let's table it to the next time, one way or the other.
Robert, when you talk to him, can you try to get him to get us the information a little sooner than right before the meeting?
No, I have that information.
Oh, okay.
And maybe detailed on the original 140, where that was allocated to?
I have to break it out. It wasn't prepared in that format by V3, so.
Well, I'm saying, I mean, it,
Well, I think that extra 307 were two alternate bid specs that we spec'd out, or they should have spec'd out and looked at before they bidded on it. Because it smells when they bid on one thing and then, oh, by the way, we didn't catch this or didn't catch that, and all of a sudden, you know, that's why these cost overruns go nuts.
No, those alternates were bid out. My recollection was when the contract was presented, we only presented it for the original. We still had the bid amounts.
But we did approve the alternate bids.
Then we approved the alternate bids, but they were
And now
bidded.
they're
Right.
coming more.
but the alternate bids, what I'm saying is, were for those two streets.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
Yes.
right. That's my point.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we know that the original amounts for those two streets were put to bid, and we got bids as an alternate from the initial, but we didn't award the contract for those, so. But now you've got extras and change orders coming before you that are 3 and 4, so.
There were
Yeah.
two change orders for these storm sewer connections, and I think that's one of the rubs is
Yep.
the engineer had indicated after studying all of our utility maps that they thought we were a combined sewer community, which I believe when they were hired prior to my arrival, they indicated to you that they knew, because they had people living here, that they knew the village like the back of their hand. Obviously, they
Well, they
didn't.
must have had their hands in their pockets.
Yeah, yeah. So we did get a first change order to add in storm sewer connections. And then they came back with, during the construction, after several were exposed and already connected, I was surprised that we were already over the contract amount. So when staff was made aware that they had already used up all the items in there without stopping the job, we asked for a second change order. So, I'll get that detail, and we'll get the detail back. I have that combined change order 3 and 4 item by item, but it was for the combined amount, which is something like 170-some thousand. So I will be able to pull that. I can do that tomorrow, and I can send that directly to the board, and then we can vote on it at the next meeting, or consider it and discuss it again at the next meeting.
Is this what you're talking about?
I believe that's it.
I
Right.
mean, do you need like a microscope and a
I gotta blow it up because I can't read it.
seeing eye dog to read? I mean,
There's a
my
lot
eyes
of
are good,
items.
but they're not that good. All right. Anyway, looks like that's table. Anything else? A to G, I think we hit everything. Our next is, I guess, a question to Steve. You still coming?
It's only 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Item number 8, active agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve a resolution?
Second.
Whoa, let me finish. Approving an employment agreement between the Village of Westchester and Stephen L. Stelter as Chief of Police. Motion by Carl. Second. Who's jumping in?
Second.
Frank.
Oh,
Frank had his
go ahead,
hand up.
Frank.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Carl and Frank, do we have to put anything in this? Mike, any numbers?
Yeah, I guess we should put the salary amount in,
115?
come on, where's my paragraph?
115.
$115,000 is the first year. There's no second year. It's going to be required to be determined for the second year. I do want to point out that it was you were handed out a revised contract. The only change on that is in paragraph 11. The chief originally thought that he was going to be in one pension fund, and it turns out that that would not have been a good choice for him in the downstate police pension fund. He'd be a two-tier employee. Obviously, I don't think he's going to spend 20 years here as the chief. It became obvious that under the two-tier system, you have to have 10 years, greater than the 7 under the tier 1. So what went out in your packet last week on Friday had pension language in it. Now the chief and Ms. Mattheis discussed the alternate, which is make the contributions for the pension fund that you would have made, but put it into a 457 deferred compensation plan. You do need to designate to the village which 457 deferred comp plan you want, but it provides as designated by you. But that's the language change. I happened to run into Chief Stelter at the McDonald's right before the meeting. We were both getting nourishment before this meeting, and I pointed that out to him. He's seen the language, and this is the version that I showed you. So,
Okay, with that being said, there's a motion and a second on the floor for approving the employment agreement. If there's no other questions, Shirley, please the roll call.
Trustee Perry?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
Trustee Yorkowicz?
Aye.
Trustee Calpagno?
aye.
Trustee Celestino?
Aye.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
President Julia?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Managers report.
Okay, again, just wanted to say, very happy with this, that Steve's agreed to come and join us, and we look forward to him starting on the 8th. We will swear him in officially at the meeting on February 9th. But I think he'll be a great addition to the department, and we look forward to his start here after he goes to the Cayman Islands. So, lucky him. Also, just wanted to mention that many of us attended the Celebrate Westchester event Saturday night at the Alpine House, and was a good time. We honored Coach Gene Pingatore in absentia. Sam made a little comment, and Nick was gracious enough to stand in his shoes and accept his award and didn't drop it, so that was good. The night was a little overshadowed by the sudden death of one of the Chamber Executive Board members, Valerie Brennitz, on last Tuesday night. So our sympathies go out to her 2 children, and hope that things aren't too tough for them going forward. Also got word today that the mother of one of our food pantry directors, Amanda Graham, passed away, so I'd like to ask for you to keep her and her family in your prayers today as well. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Michael?
I have a request, and that is that when the minutes of the village board meetings are prepared and we adopt contracts where we specify the dollar amounts, that's when you ask me, do we have to add it, that those should be placed in the title of the instrument, the ordinance or the resolution that we're adopting. I just did a review of some of the minutes, and we're on tape saying those things, but I would prefer that we also have it in the minutes, so that if anyone pulls our minutes, they know we're compliant with that. So,
Is it your recommendation that anything that has financial numbers on it be reflected in our agenda as well? and they could always be modified if we, you know, we've increased or decreased because of something. I mean, we could change that on the fly. Usually it's a negligible amount based on the amount that's being put in there. Would you suggest
Right.
that that happen as well?
Yes, the Attorney General's opinion, the case that they came out with where they indicated that even though you have all this information, like your board packet, that may be online, the case involved a school superintendent and his dismissal and the separation agreement. They had the separation agreement available for everybody. It was a public document. When they voted on it, they just said a motion to approve the separation agreement with so-and-so, and the AG ultimately decided that, well, you didn't provide enough information because you didn't even provide the amount of severance paid. So the attorneys are now saying, we're advising our clients, include the dollar amounts in there. So you're correct. If it's in the agenda, that's the easiest thing because it's already in print, and when you do your minutes, you can just pull that off. But when we miss it, and as long as we substitute by a verbal statement before the vote is taken as to what that amount is, we're complying with the Open Meetings Act. I just want the minutes to show that we did that. Who knows how long these tapes will be kept, but the minutes are going to last much longer than that. So in any event, when we do put those dollar amounts out there, like tonight we had 2 or 3 of them, just pick those up in the minutes. You can even say, village attorney reported that the dollar amount was, if you do it that way. But every time we have a dollar amount stated at the meeting, either when village president reads the agenda item and it's included in that agenda title, or when I or my replacement substitutes that information, we should just want that reflected in the minutes.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, Frankie, anything?
Really, we didn't go over very much. I mean, we talked about, like, the last summit meeting that we had about, I already gave that report. We're looking for another one for the board
Placement.
because of the passing of Donna. So, and I
And
think
you're
we're
just missing one right now?
well, no, we're also missing another one, but it's gotta be a liaison from the chamber. We're missing our chamber liaison because you stole them from us. Bruce.
Oh, I forgot
Yeah,
about it.
of course you did.
Okay,
Other than that, yeah, we're okay.
great. Nikki, anything?
Well, with the promotions that you saw tonight for the fire department, the Police and Fire Commission meeting is Monday, and I'm gonna talk to Jimmy, and I wanna talk to probably Maureen, Janet, and we may have to change some of the items on the agenda, because I think we're gonna need to discuss, on the agenda right now is currently next year's budget, but I think we're definitely gonna have to make some changes, because we're gonna have to run a new lieutenant's exam and captain's exam. And last year, when we ran those lists were only 1 year old. Our expenses were over $9,000, and I think now this time you're gonna have even, I don't know if more people are gonna take it, but potentially more people are gonna take it. So, I mean, that's an item that we definitely didn't budget for, so we're gonna have to.
It's going to be a budget amendment
Yeah,
somewhere
so
along
we're gonna have to look at that and just kind of see where we can jockey some things around. So I think that's gonna have to probably be moved into the new business and everything regarding that, because both lists are exhausted. Other than that, I think that's all I got for right now.
I know I requested of the commission president some alternate dates to make sure that you attend as a liaison or can attend as a liaison.
Yeah, I asked to try to make the last one if they couldn't change the date or something, I guess.
So I'm just saying,
yeah.
have
She had reached out to me, and apparently there's not going to be a problem with Wednesdays now, so that should work out better.
okay, so if they have a meeting, why would they have a meeting Monday?
Monday, I don't know when she planned on changing it,
Or,
but,
you know, 'cause mean,
But yeah, because Monday,
Sam, I
I'm
can
not
just say, I
kidding.
know she mentioned it, I was at the last meeting, and I know she had mentioned they were still looking into the Wednesdays. I don't know what was,
Well, if they've
Yeah,
already
because
said
Monday
they
I won't
scheduled
be
it
able to
Yeah.
be there.
so I think this next one was just
but all they
kinda-
have to do, like we do, we
Change it to
change the
Wednesday.
meeting after 48 hours and give it a new date.
They may have not been able to change this one to
Well, I mean,
Wednesday.
there's still plenty of, they just came out with they just came out with the agenda, I believe, today, and I don't even know if it's posted yet, so maybe
There's
we
enough
could,
time
there's
to
the-
post it for
oh, yeah,
Wednesday.
for Wednesday, yeah.
Cancel Monday's meeting, so.
Yeah,
Duh.
yeah.
Exactly what I'm saying. So,
Yeah, so
Anyway.
I will email Mary, and I will have her poll the board and see if it's feasible that they can change it then to Wednesday, because that would work
And
out.
I'm just gonna comment for the chief and for trustee Stecker that, that the 180 days to have the new list is starting now that you promoted off of that and it's exhausted, so you gotta have a new list within 180 days, so.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll only be, what, 90?
Yeah, like you said, the clock's ticking already for the written, so, the 90-day window for that's already rolled.
That's for both captain and lieutenant? Okay,
So
good.
just for clarification, that the new clock starts the day those lists were exhausted, even though they're not expired.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, 'cause
The
that was-
statute says they
Exhausted.
expire either on their expiration date or the promotion of the last
So that's
person
today,
off for that.
technically.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
so I think that answers, at least, I know the commission has their own attorney,
Right.
and that I expressed, based on some commentary, a question regarding eligibility of members that did not conform to the time requirement of time on the job, et cetera, et cetera. So there should be a certain number that
You'd have to
are
be
taking or not
eligible by
as
the
a
time the
blend.
first part of the test begins, right? Whatever, how many years do you have to have? 5?
It's actually 5 years based on the expiration of the current list. Although that's in the future, if they meet their 5-year requirements and they have 5 years.
But the list expired today.
Well, that's
correct?
the question that
Isn't that
that I
what
posed to
Mike
the
just said?
commission.
Yeah, I'm not,
I know
I haven't memorized what the qualification language is, but sometimes they say that's from the first of the year when the test is to be issued. Others say tie it to the expiration of the list. So you just gotta look at the contract, because the contract's gonna control that.
But you
So
said the list expires either.
the
on
list
expiration
itself is
date-
is done. You
or-
gotta have a new list within 180 days of now, because think about it, you could, if you had 2 people on the list and you exhausted that list the first 2 months that it was there because you had
You
promotions,
can't, yeah.
you gotta get another
Right.
promotion list in 180 days from when those names came off of there, so.
Because you can't have people that are eligible not until 2 more years from now.
Well, that's
When
the
list
question.
would've
Yeah,
been
well,
That's the
that's what I'm
answer.
saying, you'd have to look at the contract, but it's,
No,
'Cause-
but what I was asking was, you mentioned that the list expires either on its expiration date or when the list is exhausted.
right.
So if it expires when it's exhausted,
Well, I think that
You
it's
did
being
that tonight.
researched
You
because
you
there's-
exhausted both tonight.
They're exhausted, they're over, they're done.
there's
Yeah.
a discussion of, I guess, who's eligible? Is
Right.
it who's eligible today or within, I don't know, 30 days that we throw the test together? Or is it for another 2 years, which has far impacts on certainly
Yeah.
the guys that are taking it? Right? They're gonna compete against less or
Mhm.
more, depending on the ruling. So, anyway, that's, it's out there, it needs to be vetted, and
Well, that's something
Will
that they should
comply.
probably address, hopefully they'll address that in the police and fire
Like you
commission
said,
meeting
Drew,
too.
like I gave him all of the information, kind of highlighted and everything.
well, you'll know,
I haven't heard back from him yet,
well, it should be on the agenda for Monday or Wednesday. I
Yeah,
would
Monday
think.
or Wednesday,
Monday or Wednesday.
hopefully Wednesday. And then.
And I don't mean to step into the role of the BFPC's attorney. I'm just trying to advise my clients here that
Yeah,
there's 180 days and that clock is now ticking, so.
Well, let's put it this way, if there's something actionable by a member, either that he was not allowed to take the test and should have been allowed to take the test, or vice versa, we're the ones that are gonna get tapped.
Yeah.
Let's face it,
Mm.
right? We're the ones that are gonna be sued, and we're gonna have to defend it, so. Anything else, Michael?
No, I think it was Trustee Stecker's report.
Yeah, no, and then I'd like to try to sit down with Greg, and we haven't had a 911 meeting for a while. I think we're due just to at least kind of see where things are.
We have to prepare the budget as well.
Yeah, so,
I'll explain it a little more when it comes around.
okay, sorry.
Celestine?
Hello. I met with Melissa and Janet this week for lunch to discuss our permit structure. And they opened my eyes to a couple of expenses that we weren't considering. So Melissa's gonna get some more information together, some more comparisons to other towns, and we're gonna review it again in another committee of the whole meeting.
Okay.
For some changes.
Sounds good. Tommy?
I have nothing.
Ange?
Just the stuff we've already discussed.
Mr. Carl?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Let's see, Michael?
Other than welcoming Chief Stelter, we had a good conversation yesterday, and I have nothing else to report.
Great. Jimmy?
Just preparing for the 2017 budget. My public hearing's on February 16th, 6 o'clock here in the courtroom. Another round of contract negotiations is scheduled for February 1st with the firefighters. And January 19th, we had our second meeting with Divine Infant and Cook County Homeland Security to discuss their ongoing parish-wide emergency operation plan. A lot of the template was filled in. It was just kind of more touching up on it. And we have a third meeting, I think that's second Tuesday or so of February, or the first Tuesday of February, to go over the final details and how it can be implemented and what they need to do, you know, either working with us or how to practice the plan. So, and then last but not least, third round of reminder letters to all the businesses and 4-unit buildings is going out later this week. Being a gentle reminder that we have a new fire code, and compliance is mandatory as of April 27, 2017. Again, communications have been really good with all of the businesses and apartment owners, or building owners. It's been a little smoother than I even thought it was going to be at this point. So, and I've seen a lot of plans coming, you know, across from the village hall for inspections, for our plan reviews. So,
good.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Maureen?
The utility department, of course, has been busy working on implementing the billing going to monthly. The bills will be going out at the end of this week. They will be due February 21st. We don't anticipate any problems, but we do ask for patience. I do anticipate a large increase in volume in the front office. So whether it's foot traffic or just dealing with the office mail or whatnot, just be patient with staff as we're working through the new processes.
Will our account numbers change?
No. So like I said, we anticipate on everything going smooth, but just an increase in volume. Also, I wanted to remind the board that vehicle stickers will be going on sale March 1st. We have not, since I've been here, touched the fee for vehicle stickers. I just wanted to throw out the idea to see if it's anything that the board would entertain. I'm thinking a small increase, maybe like $5. I looked at what some other villages have. I don't have statistics to bring in front of you tonight, but if it's something you'd like to entertain, I certainly can put that together and send it out to you.
How was our sales compared to last year?
You know, I don't have those exact
Yeah,
figures,
we
but
can
I
get
do
that,
know
yeah.
it's relatively on target every year. So we haven't seen, you know, a change or anything, but, you know, our fees continue to go up, our staff salaries continue to go up. I just kind of want to keep in mind that those kind of increases.
Anything else?
That's all to entertain the idea, I'd be happy to prepare an analysis of other villages and send it out to you. Otherwise, I can.
Sure.
Thank you.
Also, just quickly, Maureen has prepared the most recent quarterly financials that she's going to discuss under other information on the cow.
Gregory?
Good evening. I also would like to welcome the chief. As many of you know, I'm spread pretty thin throughout the village, but I typically, over the last 10 years or so, have worked very closely with each of the chiefs that have come before you. So I look forward to working with you in capacity that I can provide either knowledge, information, or help you in any way possible. As you know, again, I want to tell you that I'm spread very thin. I know these people know it, but I do like to help in any way possible.
Greg's telling you he runs the show.
Yeah,
Well,
or at any hour. I sent him an email at like midnight the other day, just a generic
Anytime.
email.
Anytime.
And I got a 1.5-page response at 12:30.
Anytime.
Yeah.
But of course, welcome. In terms of some information here, I'm going to start just very as quick as possible here. Trustee Stecker asked me what the update was, and unfortunately I didn't provide anyone else yet, but gave him just a little briefing on the Gladstone camera. I'm going to meet with Gary hopefully tomorrow. Apparently he's ill, I was advised. I tried scheduling something with him with regards to the Gladstone camera. There was an incident recently that the trustee asked me what the status was on the camera because of this incident. Basically, we do know our numbers. I need some numbers from Gary, and we just need to finalize this. I don't think there's anything holding it back other than us proceeding forward. The village manager had contacted me last week, I believe Thursday. The mayor, as well as village manager, Mike, Jim, sat down and talked about a grant that was possible to include in this. I don't want to speculate as to whether we're getting it or how we're going to do this, but I think we're moving forward either way. So that's.
Greg, you know what, the only other thing that I have is regarding that, and I'm just curious, and maybe you guys have already done this, is it just one camera that you guys are looking at? Is it, you know?
It would be a two-camera setup.
Two cameras?
From the same
Okay.
position. One would be provide the ability to be on a path. The other one would be stationary on the park itself, on the actual playground equipment, which I'm going to say is high priority, or at least has more activity continuously.
Okay.
Being on a patrol would provide some other visual coverage, specifically when we have certain things that occur either in the park itself, whether it's the ball field or the area surrounding it.
And is there any way that we currently have the capabilities to like remote into those, the types of cameras that you'd be looking at, where, say, a squad could be parked 3 blocks away and just kind of keep an eye on things?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's the
I just
plan.
don't want to half-ass this, you know what I
No,
mean? If we're going
no,
to do
this
it,
is-
I'd like us to do it properly.
Definitely. This is going to be definitely going to provide what you were just describing. Let me also add that our end, I'll call it our end, the equipment that's going to be installed here is going to be the same equipment that we have for our inside cameras. So it's, let's call it a bridge. The two are going to talk to each other. Unfortunately, the current one we have does not have the capacity to handle extra camera equipment. That being the case, this will be expandable. So in the event the park or any other entity in town wants to talk to us about another camera, we want to do it ourselves, we can add to the system to do what you were talking about.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not just.
No.
And all of a sudden, people think we've maybe addressed the situation, and it's like, well, you just have it shining
Standalone?
on one little, so
No,
I
this
want to make
isn't
sure we have the ability to do these types of things. if
No,
we're gonna
this
do
isn't
it.
going to be, and I don't want to say the other way was wrong. It was on a grant as
Yeah,
well.
no, I understand with the county and stuff, or.
Correct.
Yeah.
The deputy chief at the time, I believe it was a grant that was received for that other camera. There wasn't the capabilities that you have today. So we
Yeah.
are going to look at it.
And I know when
They
you're
had
on a
the
grant,
that
you
was-
don't even have the say-so as to what.
Correct.
So I get it. I just want to
Yes.
make sure that if we are going to go and do this, which I think we should, that we're just making
No.
sure that we do.
It's
It's the most
compatible, it's
versatile.
upgradable. It is a high-quality system.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you.
So I will report back to the village manager as soon as I talk to Gary, and I will ask that she pass that along to the board. The mayor also received some information, which I didn't receive this time, I don't know why, about the National Drug Take Back Day. I did check in to make sure that we are registered. It's going to be April 30th, so we ready on collecting as usual. Look forward to doing that.
Except we're good dropping at MWRD this time.
In the
Add to their
water.
numbers? We're not adding to their numbers.
No, but I mean, we'll add to their numbers, but
I'm gonna see.
Okay.
we want to see, I mean, that last load that we had,
Yeah.
I mean, we tipped the chart.
980 pounds?
Yeah.
Okay. Be close. I also mentioned last meeting about special events. We are having a meeting February 22nd. That was the earliest that we could get everybody together. But we do have 2 events that have the stage assigned to us, July 15th and 16th, the Friday and Saturday, August 6th. At the February 22nd meeting, we should have some more information on what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. We've got some ideas and discussion that will take place that day. Also met with the management, NORCOM, on Thursday last week, and this is where the ETSB situation's going. Mike Tillman, who is probably
Out of service
the
right now.
biggest resource, because he was in Springfield during this, is out at least another couple weeks. I was advised, though, that the communities that are a part of NORCOM, Melrose Park, Bellwood, Franklin Park, are all interested in putting together a combined ETSB. The only thing that Don Nielsen said at the time was he'd rather have Mike Tillman present to us how we're going to do this, how it would be done, how it could be done. The merging of ETSBs is something that, by statute, needs to be accomplished by the end of the year, or at least put together. It doesn't actually have to be done. It has to be started. We have to present something to the Illinois Commerce Commission before the end of the year.
By the end of the calendar year or fiscal
End of the,
year?
end of the 2016, yes.
Calendar year.
Correct. Presented something by then. I don't have a date on the 2017. I don't know if it's end of 2017 or mid-2017, or if there's a date. This is where Mike Tillman has a little bit more knowledge on it than I do, and he's going to present something to myself and any other member agency that attends a meeting when he returns. I don't know if, I was going to ask if Attorney Durkin had any side comment on that, on any of the other municipalities that he's worked with. Unfortunately, until we decide how we're going to put this together and, let's say, determine how it's going to all culminate the funds together, I don't know where we stand.
I have had a conversation with Mike Tillman that he was looking to determine whether Melrose Park was going to be brought in. Has that, or decision been made on that?
It hasn't been made. Melrose Park, Franklin Park, and Bellwood were 3 communities that they represent as well, or provide services for, that are all in the same boat with regards to the ETSBs needing a combination.
Yeah, I think the one issue that we discussed that would be of great concern to us is the weighted vote in terms of your ability to affect the use of those funds.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
So-
Stone Park versus large Melrose Park or somebody like that. But
Correct. And you don't want a large community using its voting power to sweep all the funds into its,
mhm.
use, but it's going to be one ETSB board, so.
Is that the language or some kind of weighted vote per commentary in the language?
Well, I
Is
think
there-
it that just needs to be determined. The statute doesn't, the requirement to consolidate and have that combined ETSB does not indicate how that voting should go.
Does
But-
anybody know DuPage is if, the municipalities that all go into DuCom? Because that's just one ETSB, and I don't know if it goes by.
As far as I'm understanding it, the ETSB there takes all of the funds. They then disperse it based on an ETSB board in DuPage County. I was trying to think if I had a resource there. I could get some information, but as far as I knew it, as an example, in Oak Brook, they needed some money for laptop computers. They would petition the ETSB that they need funds. So they would have to request money versus money being dispersed at a set interval as we were planning to do it here. As far as I know, that's how Mike Tillman is describing it to us, that we would, let's say it was 3 of us, Melrose Park, 4, Melrose Park, Bellwood, Franklin Park, and us. The 4 of us would sit and say, well, you know, we've got a combined total of, you know, $1 million, 250, 250, 250, 250, or, you
Based
know,
on
Melrose Park
population.
has
Population,
a larger,
yeah.
but they don't bring in as much money as us, Melrose Park, overall.
Yeah.
So I've seen the numbers that each of those towns do bring in, and fortunately, because of our $1.50 versus some of the other communities' lower collection referendum,
Yeah.
we're a little bit higher, and we have a little bit more coming in per capita.
Yeah, but I believe, and I was at a recent WCMC meeting where another firm discussed this. You know, we're light years ahead of everybody because we're already in some type of consolidated mode where there are a number of communities like LaGrange Park, Western Springs. They're in the planning and further ahead, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet. So as far as discussion pieces, we're already there. We're fine-tuning and determining, there's a finite number that the state is, I think it's 87 cents, regardless if you collected $1.50 for your landlines, and I'm not sure what the state was collecting on the cell phone lines, but 87 cents is the number across the board. And my question to them was, what if we're losing money? If we collected, say, $50,000 last year, and now based on the 87 cents, we're only gonna collect 40. I mean, where do we make that up? Because we're billed certainly by Norcom a certain amount via contract. So there's a couple of money things that are in there.
Yeah, I thought there wasn't supposed to be a short. I thought it was supposed to be dollar for dollar replacement. It just came from two different sources. Is that
No,
not
it was going to
correct?
be a flat fee for either or.
Okay.
Before it was 75 cents, the number you're speaking of. It was 75 cents for cellular. Ours was $1.50 per landline and VoIP line. And it's going to be 87 cents across the board. So in some cases, depending on, we've got a lot of corporate authority here with the corporate center, which has a lot of cell phone bills associated with it. We have a larger cell phone base than some of the other communities do.
So there could be a loss for us. That was my question, and there was really no guidance because no one knew the answer to my question.
Well, I'll show you what I have, and then you could present it on. I have some figures with regards to current as well as what we will be getting based on the legislation.
Right, but I'm saying that, but all that money now is gonna go to this new ESP board made of a conglomerate of
One
departments.
vote from Westchester, one vote potentially.
However, it
Correct.
strikes out. Okay.
Greg, do you get anything for like Vonage and Magic Jack and?
Yes, we do receive remittances. They're not on the regular basis. Things like Magic Jack do it quarterly, I believe, but they have a subsidiary name. I don't know what, I'm gonna have to look that up. But yes, we do receive remittances from them. Voice over IP lines like Vonage, small carriers, people who are third-party carriers
Something I missed.
out of the corporate center, for example, do. But yes, we do receive them.
So, but again, we're light years ahead. People are just formulating their plans that we went through this exercise a couple of years ago. So we're I don't say leaders, but we're ahead of the game.
Yes,
People
definitely.
have to
Yeah,
do
like
statewide.
Rosemont is affected because they're too small to be a standalone, so they need a waiver or they gotta consolidate with somebody, so.
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's it, Greg?
Yep.
Robert?
Hand out to the board an item from, regarding the lead and copper rule. It's a pending bit of legislation that could affect us. Memo is in regards to what's occurring in Flint, Michigan with their potable water system. And if the new lead and copper rule is adopted by the IEPA, the effect on us is that we will need to consider replacing lead lines within the village. I don't know that we know the exact number of lead services for the blocks to the house that have to be replaced,
Figure every one.
or lead services from our main to the B block. So there's a public component, and
Just throw that thing outside.
there's also a private component. And in the memo, I indicated that at $2,000 each, which is our bid price that the the last project we did this summer. That's about $7 million we'd have to come up with. Typically, this is spread over time, but we don't know what that time frame would be. And it's a very costly, unfunded mandate that would come. We will follow this rule, and if it comes to fruition, there'll be a public comment portion when they do this. And of course, the question would be, so where's the money coming from? Typically, their lead and copper rules have been pushed to all locals to cover, so you cover that in an increase in fee. We'd also cover that by code enforcement, by requiring on private property the lead services to be replaced.
Robert, that's the lead service line. Does that include the B-box? This 2,000? It's just from the B-box? Because you said there's two components. The village side, the resident side. There's a B-box in the middle.
A lot of the B-boxes do have, they're not lead-free, so I would presume they're going to make us replace the B-box as well.
But you mentioned a number of $2,000. That doesn't include the B-box.
What we did was we replaced from the main to the B-box. So that's a long side service connection. The short side service would be less. But it's still going to be a lot of money.
So somebody's got to pay for the B-box if it needs to be replaced. And in many cases, even if they're not lead, if the box itself is so old and deteriorated, it's going to have to be replaced regardless whether it's lead or not.
Right.
So there's a cost.
They make a plastic one now. I think we've been replacing some of the ones we have with a.
Right, but there's still a cost.
There's a
that has
cost
to be-
associated
it
in
has-
putting
yeah.
in that steel monster that,
That's what I'm getting at. I mean,
Yeah.
so just to throw that $2,000 number out doesn't necessarily mean that that's the,
We had 12 connections. If we were to do this, we'd do it much larger. I would think, commodity basis, get a much lower price if we were given a time frame of 10 years and we had to convert all 7,156 homes in town. So you're doing 700 a year. With that many to do, the price I would guess would be lower. But we won't be the only town that has to do this, so. it would be,
no, I get it. I'm just, if we're going to anticipate.
worst
cost
case
and-
scenario.
Yeah, worst case scenario. So we don't end up like the meter,
I mean, we could, I know it's not the cheapest route either, but we could direct bore some of this stuff too, couldn't we?
Yes.
I don't know if
I
us personally, but.
I would not want to open up, especially all our new streets.
Right.
With a trench every 35, 50 feet.
Right, that's what
We
I'm
would not
thinking
wanna
too.
do that. Yeah, so, when it comes to fruition, we'll start a dialogue with that. It'll affect our capital improvement program, it'll affect our rate structure, it'll affect everything. So we're keeping an eye on it. I just wanted to give you a heads up. This is a rule that's being considered, it's pending, hasn't passed yet, but it has that specific language in it. The problem they had in Flint is when they changed sources of water, it had a very high pH, and copper and lead can be leached with that. Lake Michigan water is different than the Flint River, and even Lake Huron, where they were getting their water from the city of Detroit. Lake Michigan is almost neutrally balanced, has a 0 pH, it's not acidic or alkaline. So we have a real advantage here with Lake Michigan water. It doesn't present that kind of problem. They also dissolve phosphate in the water. And what that does is it precipitates out in the service lines and makes a physical coating on the inside of that lead and copper pipe. So there's no physical contact with the water. But as you increase the acidity, that leaches out and it does dissolve lead and copper. So that's the problem they're having there. It's less likely for us to have that problem because our water does not have that pH level, and we're pumping phosphate in there in small amounts, so it precipitates out. They may choose specific regions. They may require us to report on the alkalinity or acidity of our water, and we might exempt out, but those rules haven't been made yet. If there's any questions, I'll move on to the next item. We have several annual reports that we generate in Public Works. I've only seen one of those put out for public notice. That's a consumer confidence report regarding the analysis of drinking water. Coming up, I have several annual reports that I have to prepare and mail out. As a practice, what I wanted to do is, prior to those going to the agencies that require them, I wanted to put them in the board packet, and I want them to be posted on the web so that we are being transparent. All our reports are out there. Coming up is our Lake Michigan Ordinance Water Report that talks about how much water we use, how much we leak, all those kinds of things. Going back 5 years, I can't see where that's been posted as a public document. Just wanted to get those out. The MS4 permit that we get from the EPA to discharge our stormwater into Addison Creek and into Salt Creek. I want to make that a public document. Our annual ICAP report made to the MWRD that talks about what we're doing about keeping clear water out of our sanitary sewers. We have that annual report coming up. And as we get other reports complete, I want to bring those to you as well, like design reports. We do a design report for the Sunnyside sewer. I think that should be a matter of a public report so you can read. And I think prior projects were never given to the public for review. You don't have to, but certainly it should be out there and transparent. The next one I have coming is we commissioned a report for the Mayfair pump station to talk about the condition of the pumps in the pump station and how much money we should be spending to maintain those properly. That is as a component to our capital improvement program where we'll be making requests for additional dollars. That hasn't been any funding in there for the last 4 or 5 years for the Mayfair pump station. To keep them running, I want to bring that report to you and then understand that it's part of our annual capital improvement request. So I'd like to, as a practice, start having these reports more clear, more public, and transparent. Last item, LED lights. They've been in service for about 2.5 months since we've done all our repairs. In the last 3-4 weeks, we've had 7 failures. We have checked these lights thoroughly to make sure it has nothing to do with our portion of the system. On Thursday, the 21st, I gave notice to GMP to immediately come out and repair these lights because they're either LED panels drivers. They will be out there tomorrow or Thursday to make repairs on these lights. Just wanted to give you notice that we've had some go off, that we have taken these calls. We are double checking on the mechanism of failure and identifying that it is part of the GMP product. And we've given notice to them and I'll let you know how they follow up with this.
Robert, have they made any modifications or upgrades to their equipment? Or is it just the same old, you know, because, I mean, that's a lot of failures. I mean, so they're
You
just
said
putting the
7?
same thing back in?
Yeah, are they selling what they say to everybody else, the same thing they sold to us?
Yeah, exactly. Or we, you know, so they're just putting the same panel back in there. And, you know, what happens when our warranty's up or, you know?
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up, and I want to make everybody aware that if we continue to have failures like this, we are going to have a discussion with them long before the warranty expires. Because at some point, it's beyond the industry standard for failures.
Right.
And at that point, I'm going to recommend, after having a discussion with the village attorney, what our options are on the warranty or on a faulty design. But I just wanted to make you apprised that after a couple months of working without flaws, we've had a number of them go down. It's not in any one particular area. It's random. That's not a good sign.
Especially when they caused us to spend extra monies to remediate what they said was our issue.
Yeah, and in a couple of months, it's gonna be a rainy season, and then all of a sudden, lightning's gonna strike and everything's gonna go out, and it's gonna be our fault again.
Well, we're keeping an eye on this. We've got a letter from them saying that we have met the industry standard for bringing our system up to the current standard required. We've gone a little bit beyond that by putting additional surge arresters in. They had said to us that they were gonna put line conditioners in. To my knowledge, they haven't done that yet. That was a freebie that we didn't have to pay for, but I haven't seen them go in yet. That's all they've indicated that they would do. That is the difference between what they're doing in Villa Park and what they didn't do here, is line conditioners in the circuit control boxes. That's part of their new design. It's not what they gave us originally, and the surge arresters that we bought for and put in is now part of their new design.
It shouldn't turn out to be another $40,000 bump on us to.
But the email that he sent yesterday, that I sent the query back, that there may not be these arresters in some of these poles in circuit number A, and that I suggested that we have staff go out with Pinner or whomever and see if they were put in, and then whose responsibility was it to put in. I mean, if it's something that Kellenberger or Pinner was supposed to do and didn't do, you know, then that's a whole nother issue of these 7 that are out. So we certainly need to investigate. I would make sure that staff is out there and know what we're looking for, where someone doesn't try to pull a fast one and put something in now that they didn't put in and say, oh, here it was here, and it's something else that failed. We need to make sure that what we paid for in the past is in every poll, you know, or certainly there'll be an issue if you're gonna try to blame somebody, and I'm not swinging a bat for anybody, but if you're gonna blame me for my product failure when something was supposed to be done that wasn't done, that may be another vendor that missed something. Because there are a considerable amount of polls, and it's foreseeable that somebody missed 1 or 2 or whatever. But, I mean, again, we need to have staff looking at that to verify that, hey, this isn't there, or, hey, wait a minute, this is there, and, you know, we didn't put it in, and somebody else didn't put it in between the time it went out and now.
I met with staff this morning and showed them what exactly we want done, and we'll send our crew out starting tomorrow to check all 18 poles in Circuit A. Circuit A we did differently because we had an issue with Commonwealth Edison, and one of their high voltage lines went down.
So by Sherby's house, the Devonshire
Yeah,
area.
kind of fried
Are you
the
out by
circuits.
you, Sherbs? Is your lights out?
Circuit A is where all the 7 poles are out?
No,
No.
they're throughout
No.
town.
They're all
They're
on.
throughout.
We found 2 surge arresters that were put in 2 of the poles.
Okay.
And we're trying to figure out what, we treated Circuit A a little differently because we had a different problem. And I think GMP had a limited scope of work to do, just replace the LED panels, give us the cost, and we were pursuing Commonwealth Edison for that claim. And Pinner had some of the work. That's different than the rest of town. So we are going to go out and we're going to double check with our staff, so we're not getting something from someone else that we can't confirm. So they'll be out tomorrow. They'll check all of those, and if indeed 2 were missed, we're going to make sure we didn't pay for them, because if we did, we want it done by someone. If that slipped through the cracks and we didn't give the right direction to somebody, we'll install them ourselves if we can. Check with Local 705. They're okay as long as they're not in a bucket truck. So our laborers can do that work in the handhole, and we've got 2 of our guys that were licensed electricians prior to coming here. They feel comfortable doing that work, so crews are clear on what their scope is, and we should do all of that tomorrow.
But Pinner was supposed to put those surge arresters in?
Yes, that was.
Did they only miss those 2 in Circuit A? So the other 16 have them?
Yes, but
Okay.
that's my assumption. We're going to check tomorrow to
Okay.
make sure.
But out of the 7, there's 2 that we know didn't have the arresters in that was supposedly to be done by Pinner. Am I reading that right?
No, those
lights
were
are
different
on, but
circuits.
They're missing surge arresters.
Yeah, but again, how are you gonna charge GNP for those 2 when it didn't have the surge arrestor that would have prevented the head to blow?
I think the 7 that are out are in circuits, what, P, Q, C, and O?
Correct.
The
seven
two
that are out
the
there.
two that.
So those are different,
Yes,
okay.
and then he mentioned a price
I got
that
it.
there's surge arresters not in these
The ones in
A7 and
A.
8 or
But
whatever.
the seven are out, that are out, do have
Yes.
surge arresters.
And all-
They
and
were
all-
protected.
Right, okay.
Right, and all Price responded back was, he didn't address the 7 that were out. He said, we weren't doing the surge
The ones in
arresters
A.
in Circuit A.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they're repairing the 7 that are out, though. He hasn't
He
deflected
agreed.
that to anybody, has he?
No, he said, per our warranty, we will go out and we will check these, and if they're faulty, we will replace them. And my direction to him was, I don't expect to see a cost for this. We anticipate this being 100% covered under the warranty and the agreements we have in place.
Good.
That's fair.
It is.
All right, anything else, Robert? Melissa?
Good evening. I'll be very brief. I met with Grace Central Church last week, I believe it was. They're having some plumbing issues, so me and our plumbing inspector met with them to see if we could help them get to the bottom of them. I also attended the chamber breakfast. It was at Pastor Joe's church last week. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but Insurance Auto Auctions in Tower 2, they're in for plan review for interior remodel. They're redoing their headquarters there. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
Is that, I'm sorry, is that it, honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. With regard to the cell tower, you and Brian Barr are working, or I've seen some emails back and forth with regard to the findings that we need. Are you making progress on that? And are we going to have that for the next meeting?
I sent him back on Friday morning. He gave me feedback on Thursday, and I sent back a revised.
I don't recall whether that was before or after the decision was made to pull it from tonight's cow.
It was before.
Okay. And you anticipate that's going to be on the cow then for the next meeting?
Yeah, if we have enough time to review the documents that were submitted from their attorney, and as long as everybody feels comfortable.
Okay.
Okay, Sherby, anything? Nothing? Okay. We have an exec this evening? Yes.
Somebody asked me to put an item on for.
Okay, are we doing anything with this appointment, employment one?
I have nothing to say.
Nothing, so we're just gonna go under B, 5LX 122C5, to discuss the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. So that's gonna be the topic of executive session. I have nothing on the president report at this time. So, with that, is there a motion, a second, to adjourn the board meeting?
So moved.
Nick, who's the second?
Me.
Tommy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. We stand adjourned for the board meeting.